Okay, we're on the record.
Isha, can I ask a question?
Yeah, definitely. Sure.
Like, last week, whole week was like, met with one of our Guru Bandhu, Sudhir, you might know. So, like, we had been discussing about, you know, this spiritual thing only. So, somehow, had been with, in the practice constantly. So, in that process, it occurred that actually, beingness, awareness, consciousness, there is no difference. On surface of it, the mind is occurring. With the aid of mind, world is being perceived. With the aid of mind and senses, actually, even the world is being experienced. It is because of the sense of doership. You know, believing in individuality is giving rise to the world. But somehow there is a kind of understanding. I don't know, it's born out of the intelligence or knowledge, or it would be, it's just out based on experience. It is saying that actually not, nothing is there. Nothing means nothing. Actually, I have been going through your core answers. I don't know, somehow it is pointing to whatever is happening, whatever the sense of doership is projecting, whatever mind is projecting, whatever is being assumed, whatever the progress is being is assumed, whatever the taxonomy we introduce, Atman, non-Atman, duality, non-duality, nothing, nothing. Just maybe the only word can describe closestly to the natural thing is silence. But still, this illusion is there.
But no, the illusion is actually, and remember again, illusion is that which is not. We call it illusion, and then somehow we conceptualize what illusion is. The truth is, you are not body, you are formless. All the body-based experiences are untrue because you're formless. Prior to beingness, prior to this concept of holding a body, you did not know yourself. There was nothing to know. There was no world, there's no nothing. This is still the same because this perceiving as being a body is absolutely illusion. That's why Maharaj says we're talking about the unborn child. I had just written in the Cura thing because somebody had talked about meat eating and all this kind of stuff. And see, the mirage, yes, a deer can imagine quenching its thirst in the mirage because it has not yet directly experienced that is just sand and not water. So until the time that the deer knows that this mirage that looks like water cannot quench its thirst, it will imagine that this is able to quench the thirst. And until you leave this concept of I am somebody else, you will continue to imagine benefits for this illusory somebody that you are not.
See, sir, like whenever you talk or or sitting for the meditation, listening the bhajans, or whenever that kind of remembrance comes, it's evident that there is no person. Like if sit and see, like when a thought comes, there is no I. Actually, uh, pertinent to that thought. But there is a belief that I am experienced that. Because of that, I feel that I am experiencing. When it is clearly seen, there is no I. Just thought might be happening. But whatever you are pointing, here nothing is happening. Actually, here nothing is there. Whatever is being heard, whatever is being seen, whatever being imagined, nothing. But still, somehow there is experience of the world. But how to tackle that, sir? But I'm very much, I strongly believe there is no doubt that I was very arrogant, sir, like before starting attending these sessions. I was listening Krishnamurti. I was trying to understand everything with a thought construct. Everything should be tangible to the thought. With that, and I was trying to do. But now there is complete faith that I'm not the body, I'm not the mind. Nothing. Whatever is appearing is not me. Undoubtedly, yes. In a dream also, there are sometimes, there is this sense of, remembrance that, I'm not the doer. Sometimes, not all the time. In many of the dreams, if 10 dreams come, some of them, there is awareness or, sense. There is a sense that, I'm not the thing is happening there. So trust is there, but still, I'm seeing this world, sir. I'm seeing this world in terms of like, I don't know, I'm so and so with respect to so and so. How to tackle that, that residue of so and so?
Meditation, mantra. Mantra erases this illusory entity that you believe yourself to be and puts you in your true formless nature. It invites the attention of the invisible listener, the presence. We could call it the indwelling spirit. Using the body form, you're inviting the attention of the invisible presence, the invisible listener. Because, and again, you are not body, you were not body, you are not going to remain the body. All of the body-based experiences, all of the body-based concepts, all of the body-based relations came along with the body that you are not, were not, and never could be. Except your selfless self, there's no God, no Brahman, no Paramatman, no master, nothing is there. And yet, just like Maharaj says, knock, knock on the door, somebody behind the door says, nobody's there. But there had to be somebody there to say, nobody's there. That something which is nothing. This something arose within the nothing, but that nothing was prior to the knowing of existence. But that existed, which did not know existence, is what this sense of existence appeared to. And that is your unselfless self. The sense of existence then mixed with this consciousness in which you perceive yourself as a body form. And, oh, I'm here. This is me. And again, you interact in this world, and all of the wrong body knowledge is perceived from this point of being a body. Because I believe I'm a body, that's where all, like Maharaj says, all the wrong files get stored, because I'm seeing everything from a wrong perception, storing that information that's completely corrupt and incorrect, and then referencing that as memory and me. But you're not a body. And all these body-based experiences are illusion. The illusion of experience is impressed through the belief in being a body. Without a body, there's no experience, no experiencer. Prior to taking body form, no experience, no experiencer. As Maharaj says, spirit clicked with the body, and you say I, like matchbox and stick. He uses that example. Scratch the matchbox and boom, fire comes. Fire is there. But presence clicked with, presence is everywhere. Presence clicked with body and fire came. I. And then from this perceiving point of I, there's a world and there are objects in the world. But again, like Maharaj says, it's wrong files. And the mantra, remaining with your selfless self, bhajans, inviting the attention of the invisible listener, slowly, silently, and permanently, as Maharaj says, the antivirus software It removes all this wrong information, all this wrong files, because you say, oh, so that I. And that I, as Argadata Maharaj says, the sense of I am, presence, whatever you want to call it, you remain. And then as these illusory passing things, Master says the world's illusion. I don't need to worry about this world. I need to remain with presence. Of course, spontaneously, actions are going to occur in the moment, but I'm not creating a sense of doership because I'm remaining with presence. Presence then is kind of the, a wave comes up and then it goes down. A wave comes up and then it goes down. But it's the background of the ocean or the background of silence. You were saying silence. A noise appears on the background of silence, but then returns to the silence. They also use the example of molasses. In molasses, if there's something that falls in, it's more thick. It's less likely to kind of to cause a disturbance. It will go back to its undisturbed state very quickly. And presence is the same. Presence, something appears on spontaneous presence, and then remain. The mind can do what it does because it's on the surface of presence. It came along with the body, which you are not. The presence of the body is your own divinity. It's God. Worship it as such. Remain with yourself, the self. Sit for meditation. Invite the attention of the invisible listener. That presence is God. That presence is the divinity within, and you remain there. And then don't give yourself away for all this passing things. Remain there. Give the proper worship. Worship your own selfless self. Be with you always.
I noticed today that sometimes there's a slight resistance to doing mantra, as if something that I'm doing in place of something else that I could be doing. But I noticed that that's the factor that makes me feel like there's any resistance is the fact of my sense of time, that there's that time exists as something that is time, and that so if doing something that's like against my own sense of time, it feels like I'm doing something that that I could be doing something else. But then I noticed that I also can relax into the mantra, and the mantra can be actually very relaxing, and it's no longer cares about time.
The different mental acrobatics, just know this is just your mind. You're listening to mind and these mental acrobatics of, oh, I don't like the time, or too much time is spent or wasted or whatever. Remember, Sri Ramakant Maharaj said that Sri Balseb Maharaj used to sit in a well for 12 hours. Now that's some dedication. We don't have to spend all that time with mantra because they've already gone through all of this. And it made it very easy. It's like you can throw away, because the books let you know that this is. Yes, they give you this because you think you're just this body in this world doing these things. And then all of a sudden you get some knowledge in these books. And the books say, no, you're not body. You're the formless, selfless self, or you're the I am, or whatever you want to call it. Then you have a master. Sri Ramakant Maharaj says, you are not body, you were not body, you're not going to remain the body. Then you have the next thing, which is the conviction of direct experience. Again, remember I like this example very much, actually. The deer, up until the time that it sticks its nose in the sand and has a direct experience that this is not going to quench my thirst, the imaginings of the quenching of the thirst will continue. After direct experience and the deer sticks his nose in the sand, he no longer believes that his thirst can be quenched by this. So it's removed automatically. So now you've read in the books and you've heard that, okay, I'm the formless presence. There's nothing except my selfless self. Or even if you had different books with concepts of, the 5 bodies, and you're none of these bodies, so you're bodiless. Okay, so you are not body, you're formless. And then you hear from Master Sri Ramakant Maharaj. You can listen to Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj. You can read the books and impress what the Master is saying. You are not body, you were not body, you're not going to remain the body. And now through direct experience, you discover this for yourself. Master says, sit and spend some time for you. See, again, in the beginning, it just was, Maharaj says, this mantra is going to erase all the illusions, all the illusory layers that have appeared on your spontaneous presence. I just began mantra. It was nonstop. I mean, unless maybe in the sleeping, but even it was cool because I'd wake up in the middle of the night and I'd listen to my breath, and I could sense the mantra running, and I could hear the mantra running, like wind coming in from the window. You could just hear it. And so I'd wake up, and then I'd wake up in the morning, and when I couldn't actively do mantra, it was like, okay, I'm waking up with mantra, and now I'm going to start kind of actively doing mantra because I believe I'm actively here. And then I'd go about my morning routine, and it was just mantra. That's it. there was no set some time aside for mantra. Actually, that's not true, because I did try to meditate one time as a separate meditation in the ashram. It was me and Jean and Avi. And we were sitting there, and I was sitting, and we meditated. We meditated like probably 45 minutes to an hour or whatever. But then as soon as I got up, I continued reciting mantra in my mind, through mind. And so it was like, okay, now we've done this meditation, but now I'll just go back to being with myself, the self, using mantra, as Master has said. So there was no separation between mantra and meditation and life. It became the mantra was now the background on which this life was appearing, and that was it. Mantra in every moment, all the time, as long as you're consciously alive, mantra.
That's one thing I can't quite get is how you can do mantra while you're doing something else. I can't do two things at the same time. Although sometimes I do get a sense that there is a background awareness that is like not that's free of what I'm focusing on, but that's kind of rare.
But just observing your, I mean, in whatever you're doing, you're breathing in, you breathe out. You're breathing in, you breathe out. The mantra, you're just listening to the mantra naturally run. If you get too lost, then you can say, oh, okay, I got lost in the experience. Let me go back. Okay, yes. Oh, there we go. Okay. And just try to invite the attention of the invisible listener.
If I'm focusing on the mantra, though, I'll get lost in the mantra and no longer can focus on what I'm doing.
Okay. Well,
it seems that way anyway. Maybe I'm missing something.
I mean, I can only say from direct experience, when I would go into the bathroom in the morning and the water was freezing, ice cold. And normally I could not take a shower with ice cold water. But I said, aha, and mantra. And as I'm doing mantra, I pour this ice cold bucket of water on my head, mantra. I'm putting my hair, mantra. Just continue that. When I would go the next morning, and it would be scalding hot water to the point where you couldn't touch it. And again, put it in the bucket and stir it with whatever water was, and then put the shampoo and mantra. And then I would kind of smile to myself when I'd leave and lock the bathroom door again, because there was no experience, no experiencer. In the beginning, there was maybe hot or cold water, but there was no experience, no experiencer going through this experience. And yet shower was taken, but no one was taking the shower. It's just, and these are the things, when you become so involved in your selfless self, so involved in mantra, because I have to know. You see, at least for me, it wasn't, Master says I need to meditate, so I'm going to sit and meditate for a little short time, and then I'm going to go do my other things. Even when I was walking through Nashik, looking for, like little snacks and such, mantra. As a matter of fact, the one time, I continued to, and you say lost, I was lost. I was in mantra, and I left the ashram, and I walked down this road, and I kept on walking. And I walked like 10 kilometers away because I had to take a rickshaw back. Maharaj said, please don't do that. It's a city, just like any city, you have to be careful. But I had no experience of myself walking through this place or any experience of anything. I was remaining with mantra and body was moving, and I was in a foreign country and a foreign city with no thought of myself whatsoever, remaining with mantra, remaining with selfless self, and moving about quite nicely. Until then, like I said, I looked around and I was like, oh, where am I? And I had to ask the rickshaw guy, and he's like, oh, yes, you're like 10 kilometers away from there. So then I got in the rickshaw and rode back. But see, again, what you're saying about you don't have time for this, or you're concentrating on that, this is all there is. All your illusory doings are useless, are meaningless compared to knowing yourself. What could possibly be more important than knowing yourself? Let's say you're going throughout your day and you're doing your DJ thing, and boom, that's it. You're no longer here. You leave the body. But you didn't remember with yourself the self. Or worse, something happens and you're rushed to the hospital and they tell you, oh, you're going to die, or you're dying. Or 2 days from now, somebody says, you know what, doctor gives bad report. What is more important than knowing yourself?
I guess maybe I'm just not. I'm giving too much attention to what I'm doing throughout the day, and I'm just not giving my chance. Because I notice just right now I can actually do mantra while I'm listening to you. So maybe
Yes,
maybe I
yes.
can do both things at the same time.
Yes, yes. It's only a mental block that says, oh, we have to do this and then do mantra. No, mantra is the background of every experience, because you're one with the mantra, you're one with yourself, the self. All these things are appearing on spontaneous presence. And that's it. And it's not like you're going to sit there and do mantra and then suddenly, like you said, you're a DJ, 5 records go by and it's dead air for forever and people are calling up. What is happening to the radio? No, you're going to see that quite nicely. Everything is just so smooth, because the reality is that's how it is right now. It's just that the mind believes it's not. And you take ownership of these thoughts and call them my thoughts because you believe yourself to be Keith. But the mantra erases Keith, erases the thoughts, and erases all the sense of doership, because who's doing? You're formless. You are not body.
It's just so easy for me to forget and get wrapped up in my reactions, and that
Yes,
dominates the presence.
Yes, 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 yes. And that is why remain with mantra, remain with yourself with self. Think of it as, like they talk about in the Bible, God is a jealous God, And in the Bible, it talks about love God with all your heart, mind, body, and soul, and love your neighbor as yourself. Are you loving presence with all your heart, mind, body, and soul if it's a part-time thing? No. You have to want this as much as if you're on fire and you desire to be put out. You see?
Yeah.
Like, you're on fire right now. You're not saying, well, before I go put myself out, I have these few things that need doing. No.
The implication, at least to the mind, from the mind standpoint, is that 2 things can't be done at the same time.
Well, but there's no doer, there's no deed. And mantra is just inviting the attention of that on which all these deeds and doership are appearing, which is not true. And you see, if the mind is sitting there commenting about that you're not doing enough or wasting time or whatever, then you erase this mind using mantra and remaining with your selfless self, then it won't comment. We talked about before, if you're viewing the world in color, full HD color, and then the mind is presenting thoughts to you on a little tiny 13-inch black and white television, you're not going to be so interested in it. You're going to be like, wait a minute, no, this world is color. Why is this black and white here? And that's the same because you are formless. You're prior to mind. You're observing thoughts, and see, mind came along with the body. This is a big clue. The mind can only project thoughts and images about the body because it came along with the body. And when you recognize your true formless nature as it manifests as a sense of presence within this body, then you will disregard the mind because the mind came along with the body, which you are not.
I guess it's possible.
Like Maharaj says, take one step, he takes the next step for you. Take one step, that power energy will meet you. Full faith and trust. My master says the entire world is illusion. I'm formless. How am I formless? Am I this body? How can I be this body? Because when I lay down and sleep, I project a dream world and I project a body inside this dream world. Therefore, I'm not body. And right now, this body is a 5-elemental body, and when the presence leaves this body, it's a lump of goo. We burn or bury it. We say the person's dead. So, how am I this body? Okay, though maybe I'm the mind, except through meditation, I can sit for some time and observe the thoughts on the screen of mind, and I can also observe when there's no thought. Therefore, I can't be mind because mind is a flow of thoughts, and I'm the observer of whether there's thought or no thought. I still very much am. And that puts us to that Turiya state, which is the sense of presence, and I identify with the sense of presence as I am all of everything. My presence is in every being. Until such a time that it turns just slightly, and I know that my presence is manifesting through the consciousness and is felt only when holding this body form. But it's always there. While I'm holding this body form, that sense of presence, I can identify as God. This is God. This is the divinity, the sense of presence. So I want to remain there. And this will open all the secrets. The world can come and go. I'm with presence. And I know that in the beginning, even if the presence is the size of a dime, love God with all your heart, mind, body, and soul. I'm constantly diving into that sense of presence. Whatever's appearing out here, Master said, is illusion. Go to the sense of presence. The sense of presence will feel like it's growing. Why? Because this sense of I am somebody else is dissolving slowly, silently, and permanently.
Another thing that trips me up is, like you say, getting wrapped up in the concepts. I will get a sense of freedom from mind and thoughts, and then I'll look and see that, like I'll say, well, the cause of my former sense of limitation that I'm not feeling right now was caused by my but I can even take something like what Nisargadatta says. Your problem is you're interested. Well, I don't know if he says it's your problem, but he says you are interested in your body and your being. You are interested in your mind.
Yes, yes. Because it's the deer in the illusion. The deer is going to the mirage, imagining that this lake is going to quench its thirst, And until it has direct experience of sticking its nose in the sand, it will imagine that this mirage, this lake, will quench its thirst. Once this nose is stuck in the sand, there's no longer the concept that this lake is going to quench the thirst. And similarly here, until you know yourself in a real sense, using this body form to identify yourself perfectly, the formlessness that you are, you will continue to have all these concepts. Through direct experience, instantly you'll know what's the primary illusion. The primary illusion is I exist. You, this sense of existence has appeared to you. We're not talking about you in this body form. We're talking about the you that you are, all of everything, and suddenly a stirring came, I exist. Because of this stirring, Big Bang, whatever you want to call it, all of this appeared. But that original stirring of I exist is untrue, because then there was, like you just said, I know I'm everything, and then suddenly a thought comes that I'm witnessing that I'm everything. In the same state, there's nothing. A sense of existence has appeared, and immediately duality is projected spontaneously, because now I know I exist. And now the thought, I exist, is the first thought. But you're prior to the first thought, because this thought has appeared to you.
And what I was also going to say was I develop, present in that moment, I have too much interest in what caused my limitation. And then that just draws me back into...
But remember, limitation is a concept. You're not limited by anything.
Yeah.
Even when this body can no longer sustain your presence, and it dries up and it's all nasty and like the fruit on the table, it's rotting, you are. And you're the same as you were. And you'll know this because the same child that looked in the mirror is the same old man that looks in the mirror. The formless presence using the body form and looking at the appearance or the image in the mirror is the same. The little kid that had to put his stool up in order to be able to look in the mirror, that presence within that body is the same one that when you're old and gray and taking out your dentures, that same presence is seeing. The body that it's seeing and believing itself to be is different. It's aging, but the presence that's formless is ageless, timeless.
The awareness that everything is myself is also illusion, right? I mean, that's I think the fourth state or whatever, the Turiya state. But that's also kind of like not true.
Awareness has to have something other to be aware of, which creates an object in awareness that you know awareness. But awareness isn't aware. It's the faculty or the potentiality to know, but there's nothing to know. As soon as this I exist appears and the dream world is projected, so-called waking world is projected, then there are objects within the awareness to know, and awareness knows awareness. Awareness knows awareness as a sense of presence in the body form. The presence is there, but you don't know this presence until you're holding a body form and you can sense this subtle sense of presence. Awareness has nothing to be, think of it, all of everything with nothing other. You would not even know you exist, and yet you are. Because prior to the sense of existence, or prior to knowing I am, there was the faculty of knowing or something there on which this I am has appeared.
It's like the light in the darkness when there's no object for it to be reflected on. You don't know there's light.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's why all of body-based experience is illusion. All the body-based knowledge is useless. All the body-based concepts. The only thing the body-based knowledge is good for is I've read the book and I've heard this great news. I listen to the masters and I hear this great news. And now I directly experience it for myself. And I know this news is absolutely the truth. Then I don't have to worry about concepts. My world is no longer, my world is full color. And when the mind sits there and presents thoughts to me in the old 13-inch black and white, I don't listen. Why? What is the use? And after a while, the mind stops producing thoughts. The mind is just a factory of thoughts. And if I'm not buying them, it stops producing. Factory closes, they lay off all the workers, and now it's just a nice field. Empty. Mm-hmm. And yet you can quite easily go about your daily routine, your daily activities, go to work, ride the train, drive a car, all this sort of stuff. But you just know, and you don't have to keep telling everyone, oh yeah, by the way, you're formless. No, no, no. Because all of this is occurring within your formlessness. There's no need to tell anyone else that they're formless because it's a formlessness playing with form.
Yeah.
And so I don't have any thoughts about others that might be bothering me. And I can quite simply live in the world and enjoy the fact that I'm in a form-based experience, but that there's no birth, there's no death. So the mind that sits there and says, oh, what about going to the doctor and getting old? And, oh, no, no, no. You see, I'm formless. I'm the same formlessness that was in the body when it was 3 years old. I'm the same formlessness that's in the body when the formlessness is no longer, this body can't sustain it. It doesn't matter. There's no birth, no death. Formlessness is everywhere. And for a time, it's using this form. Just like with Maharaj, what we were talking last week. Maharaj was not limited and then when he left the body, expanded into everything. That was the conceptual understanding, but the reality is everything for a time was using the body of Sri Ramakant Maharaj, labeled Sri Ramakant Maharaj, only to be able to say, you are not body, you were not body, you're not going to remain the body. Because in that body form, presence understood that Sri Ramakant Maharaj was merely an instrument of presence. Merely an instrument, Sadguru moving the body. And Maharaj has said many times, you know, what's moving the body? What's moving the head, turning the head? That's Sadguru. It's in all. It's everything. It's the only thing. And all of these objects that are appearing within awareness or consciousness or whatever is the same as in a dream. Within a dream, I knock on the table and it seems solid. Within a dream, I might even be able to get a promotion at work. But when I wake up, can I spend the extra money? No, because at the time it appeared very real. But it, of course, was not. It was illusion. So all of this world is absolutely a long dream brought about by the I am somebody else. I am a body. When I take a body, then time starts for the presence, which is timeless, which had no knowing, but the faculty of knowing was there. And then this knowingness now has an object to know in which it can measure other objects and create time. But it's not true. And that's why Maharaj says all the time, remove the body and then speak with me. Ask the question. The question that you have in your mind that's coming is only a doubt about your formlessness. So when a question comes, remove the body and think, okay, how would I pose the question with this new identity? You say, like, what's the difference between consciousness and unconsciousness and awareness? And like Maharaj says, these are all words that came along with the body, and we use these words for communication while in body form to point to the formlessness that you are that has no name, no form, no labels.
So while there's the body, we are the formless power in the body. Is that correct? We are the formless power in the body.
Well, you are always this. But the body is actually not.
That gives you the idea, it lets you know that you are that.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
And that's why you, through consciousness and using this body form, you manifest as a sense of presence. You can feel this using this body form as kind of a cup that dips into the nectar of immortality. And you can then, just like we talked about if I put a rose, I close my eyes and I put a rose under my nose, I know there's a rose there by the aroma. With this sense of presence that's manifesting in consciousness using this body form is going to that sense that, oh, so that I am that. That is all there is. Because that can't be divided. It can't be nothing. I mean, how can anything have ever happened or occur to that you are? Just like the space in this kitchen. Whatever activities are occurring inside the space is just there. And if you knock down all these walls, tear down the house, or 100,000 years from now, there's like this whole place is not. Did this space in the room go anywhere? Did it grow? Did it shrink? Was it affected at all by the walls coming down? No. And the same with your own selfless self. It is not affected at all when the walls called this body are no longer. And that's why they use all the time the analogy of the pot. The air inside the pot, or the space inside the pot, and the space outside the pot is exactly the same. The pot's broken. The space didn't do anything. It's only a conceptual understanding that there was a pot within the space that somehow divided the space that cannot be divided. And that goes back to Maharaj's very nice analogy. The space in the ashram and the space in the toilet. If the walls come down, the space is the same. And that's why he says, does the space in the ashram go to heaven and the space in the toilet go to hell? No, it's one space. This concept of heaven and hell, you have to have a body form or some sort of form in order for heaven and hell to make sense. Actually, not so much true, because heaven is supposed to be like absolute paradise and all of this. Well, that's returning to your own selfless self and no longer experiencing the illusion. You just are. We talked about last week, somebody dead or has left the body. How do you become so close to them? Remain with the sense of presence that at one time animated that form. It's the same form, same presence, everything is actually the same. You remain with the sense of presence in this body form, knowing that this sense of presence animated that body form, and you're as close as you can be to your loved one because there's no separation.
Yeah, that's when the woman had died. He apparently said, "Where would I go?"
Yeah, how? What? That's a good question.
I get hung up on words a lot. So when I say this, understand where I'm coming from. You said it's all the same space. That would this be like one? Normally, like I'm against. My mind is a sort of resistant to the idea of anything being the same. That sameness is a concept. So I'm resistant at the same time as I'm resistant to the concept of sameness.
Well, the concept of sameness would be the same as when you lay down and sleep and you're dreaming. Everyone within your dream is the same. The sky, the moon, the river, everything that you're seeing is the same. It appears different, You may run up to somebody and they may smack you in your dream, but in reality, it's the same consciousness in the dream that's animating that body to smack the body that you believe you are. So that's all the same. It can't be different. There's no separation.
It's also the oneness, sameness.
Well, even oneness is, again, you don't know oneness until the concept of I exist and duality comes. Duality is how it will point to oneness, but oneness cannot be experienced because, well, you can't experience oneness. It just is. Like, there's no experiencing of oneness. You can experience the concept of oneness using duality, but you can't experience oneness because oneness is, there's not two. That's why Advaita, there's not two. But there's not even one, because as soon as you say one, then the counting begins. There's someone to say something. Knock, knock on the door. Nobody's there, but somebody had to be there to say nobody's there. There had to be, quote, the 10th man, someone being counted, the counter, but
So,
you can't know that counter because you are that counter.
so I have the same fear of the term oneness as I do of sameness. I'm afraid.
Well, again, we'll throw away the words because you needed a body, but you're bodiless. Within the body-based illusion, you have to use words to communicate.
Yeah.
And the intellect sits there and tries to sort out the words, whatever. But even we know in the whole world, there are many different ways to interpret a word. You know, you can actually get in trouble with that when you're doing translating and such, because there are many different ways to interpret a same word. So words are meaningless because you're formless. Within the form-based illusion, you use words simply for communication. But prior to taking a body, you didn't need words. And even you can sit here and observe the stirring of nothingness, creating the words that are then in mind, that are then spoken through speech. They call that, Maharaj talked about that one time. It's like 4 different levels of speech. There's like the stillness, the stirring in the stillness that becomes like an image in mind. And then mind then comes and uses this voice box to project a word. But you're prior to all of this.
Mm-hmm.
Formless you doesn't speak. Well, it does, using body form. That's why the invisible listener and the invisible speaker are one and the same. The presence in all the bodies is the same because presence is all there is.
So it's the presence speaking and listening to itself through the different bodies.
Yes. While again, like in the dream, through the illusion. In the reality, nothing is actually happening.
Yeah. So that power, that speaking and listening is the power happening, but it's really not happening. It's an illusion. So like I know Ranjit used to say,
Yeah.
you say you have the power, but then actually power goes off eventually.
Yes. Because again, it's all within, it's just like laying down at night and dreaming.
Mm-hmm.
The dream consciousness is animating everything. This is absolutely true. It's animating and moving everything and all that. But when you wake up, all of it was not.
Yeah.
And that's why we can get hung up and say Maya or illusion. And we can even say, oh, I understand that the entire world is illusion. But this understanding in itself doesn't make sense. Using words, of course, to communicate, yes. But we're saying that the world in which the unborn child is appearing, I now understand that as not happening from the perspective of the unborn child within the illusion. So wait a minute, it's nothing. That's why it talks about neti. It's just everything that you can perceive, you're prior to every experience. Even the experience I exist, you're prior to this experience in order for this experience to have appeared. So there's nothing. And now that you know this, enjoy. And when something seems irritating to who? And as you're going through these different experiences, even as you're believing yourself to be something, you're the projector of the entire world. So you're interacting with your own selfless self based on ideas and beliefs and concepts you may be holding, is projecting the experience that you believe yourself to be having or perceiving. And once you've erased, slowly, silently, permanently, any kind of illusory entity, then you're formless using form. Time is not, because you're just formless using form. Scenes are appearing and disappearing before you. And it's very easy. Then, like Maharaj says, you're totally unconcerned with the world. But not unconcerned like you're going to go and live in a hut, and say, okay, now I'm just going to be dedicating my life to meditation. No, why? You have a body form. Enjoy using the body form, knowing that you are formless. Oh, wow. It's 21. Speaking of time.
Okay.
Thanks
Okay,
for
thank
the
you.
overtime.
Thanks,
Thank
John.
you.
Thank
Okay.
you very
Good
much.
night, John.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you.